Hey Kids Zone teachers, so I wanted to touch base with you. I haven't really spent a lot of time with the adults in the kids ministry at Victory. I've spent more time with the kiddos, which, that's kind of my thing. But with all of the talk about us coming back, we will not have children's ministries for the first few weeks. That is just sort of so we can get a handle on how things are going to look when we get back. But when we do come back, things are going to have to be a little bit different. The good news is, because of my childcare brain, we have always run things in our children's ministry sort of like a daycare. We kind of follow the same, not really requirements, but the same guidelines that the child care centers do so that it kind of transitions for Mother's Day out. So with that said, how many of you have seen these hanging up in the classrooms? Tell the truth. How many of you? I know some of you have said we no longer have them in the Family Life Center, and I think that's because an adult saw them and went, there are no kids in here, and took them down. So we're going to fix that. But this is the Kids Zone emergency information. This packet hangs on a hook, either behind the door or on a cabinet, somewhere accessible. The reason for that is if there's an emergency, I just want you to grab it and run with it wherever you have to go. But here's some of the information. Obviously, in case of an emergency, dial 911, and our address is there. It says main building, or if you're in the Family Life Center, yours will say FLC. You want to make sure you give that information to the 911 dispatcher. So fire emergency. So we're in the main building. Assume we're in the main building. Emergency exits are located at the end of each hallway. So if you are in the nursery hallway, if you are in the big classroom at the end, for children's church, we call that the threes, you would go out that side door and into the parking lot up against the, walking along the curb. In case of fire, proceed to the stairs and out to the east end of the parking lot. If you are upstairs in the main building, you will come down the stairwell, preferably go out the side doors by the offices. If you're on the other end of the hallway, you would come down the front main entrance, but you will leave the parking lot and go all the way over to the fire pit, basically. We would be at that little street where the Victory Baptist sign is, as if you're driving, you're walking over to the Memory Care Center. We want all of our children's ministries to meet in that location so that when parents have to find their children, that's where they'll be. We're near an exit. We can get out if we need to. We're not going to get blocked in from vehicles. It's just a good rule of thumb to stay out of the way and stay on that corner. So if you go out the other side, you would have to go around the gym, obviously, unless there is a fire back there. If there is a fire back there, obviously you would go to the front of the parking lot. So what to do? Take your binder with you. An updated student contact list should be included. Most likely it will be. You may be missing a couple of kids because the way the check-in system works, we check them in as we go. But we try to update those rosters once a month and pop them in here. If you have access to your roster on, I almost said CCB, on Breeze, that is exactly what you need to be doing. That's why it's so important that our teachers have access to that, because you can pull it up on your phone and know exactly who's there today. It will show you real time your attendance for the day and who's in attendance. Each child should hold hands with a buddy. That is an old preschool, grade school thing, but we want them to hold on to each other. So 2 kids hold on to each other and walk side by side. Calmly instruct children to stay together and follow you out of the building. An additional adult will follow behind. So 1 adult in the front, 1 adult behind. That's why we need 2 adults in every classroom. Call 911 and the address is at the bottom of the page. If there's a tornado emergency, some of you may remember a couple of years ago we were under a tornado. I forget, is it watch or warning? I think it's a watch, meaning it's coming. The doors were blowing open, literally open. It was very scary. We had deacons out in the parking lot and on their phones watching the weather. So out of an abundance of caution, we went ahead and brought all the kids downstairs from upstairs, and we lined up in the hallway in front of the preschool rooms. We didn't have a lot of kids at that point, so that's why we did it that way. If we had a lot of kids, we would use both hallways, but you want to be inside the hallway. The reason for the hallway is because the more walls that you have between you, the better. This is what the guidelines say for CDC, so that's what we do for child care centers. So you want to have them in the hallway sitting down. We brought coloring pages and stickers down, and that's what they were doing. And so, funny enough, Mr. Pulliam came out of service. We'd been sitting down in the hallway for about 10 minutes. Kids thought it was fun. They were all coloring. Nobody was hysterical. Everybody was totally calm. We were singing songs. And he runs out of the side door and said, "We should probably bring the kids down." And then he looked and went, "Oh, you're ahead of me," because we had a plan. So if I'm not here, y'all have to put that plan into action. Don't wait for me to be there and tell you. Usually I'll send out a text blast, or I'll come get you. But if we're under a watch and the winds are that high, you need to come downstairs. So it says, plan to exit the top floor, not the first floor. Proceed to the nursery hallway and have children protect their heads facing the wall across from the bathrooms. If you're in the Family Life Center, proceed to the restrooms closest to an interior wall. Tips are: stay calm, sing a silly song, and bring your student information binder. If you're calm, they're calm. That's really all that matters. Let's see, there should be a lockdown as well here, but I can't find it. There's also a lockdown as well, and basically, and we're still kind of tweaking that, so that might be why I pulled it out. I can't remember. But we're tweaking that as well. For now, lockdown says that you go into a corner on the same wall as the door and get in the corner, get as quiet as you can. That's all we can do. For the nurseries downstairs, we're talking about adding, taking away one of the glass doors, adding interior locks and those sorts of things. But for now, you just want to get up against the wall and be quiet. So that's our lockdown for now. Then you have a student information list, an approved volunteer list. They're not behind these because they're in this. I found they weren't holding, so I put them back here. You have an approved teen volunteer list. The reason for those is because we can't just pull whoever out of the sanctuary to come and help us. We're kind of past the age of warm bodies, if you understand what I mean. We can't really just have a bunch of warm bodies in the nursery. Sorry, this is all twisted. We need to be very careful at who we allow in those nurseries. This protects you, it protects our church, protects our children. So if you have not been through a background check, you're not supposed to be in those nurseries. If you are not a member of our church, you are not supposed to be in those nurseries or classrooms. The first two rooms at the front near the foyer, men are not allowed in those rooms. That's just our rule. It's in our bylaws, and so we can't allow men to be in those classrooms. They are more than welcome to be, well, actually, they're not allowed in any of those downstairs, but they're more than welcome to be upstairs. We prefer to have husband-wife teams working upstairs if we can. So the next thing is, and teen volunteers, same thing for that. AJ has to approve the volunteers that come up. He wants to do that. That's his prerogative. Student allergy list. We have a list inside. If someone has an allergy, we have their care. It's called a fact sheet, and it basically tells you what to do in case of an emergency with them. You should always check that when you come into the classroom to see if anything's been added. I will always send a note. I will always post something until everybody knows about it. We'll probably remind everybody when we get back. Note to volunteers, this information is not meant to cause fear, but simply to inform you and to be prepared. Please become familiar with the information and make it a common practice to read over it and update it if needed. If you see a mistake, please let me know. Volunteers, it's a privilege to serve the Lord, and we count it a great honor to serve with you. It's not something to be taken lightly. Your commitment is vital in the children's ministry success and to further God's kingdom and plant seeds in the hearts of children. And we thank you in advance for your time and dedication. Should you have any issues, please contact me immediately. And my phone number and my email address are there. Our volunteers are members of Victory Baptist Church and like-minded in our beliefs. You're required to go through an approval process before you are allowed in the classroom. All volunteers must wear a name badge when in the classroom or dealing with children. You guys, we get a little lazy with this, and I feel like the badge police as well as the playground police, don't make me do that. Just wear them, please. I know that you know who everybody is and the kids know who you are, but when a visitor comes in, especially a visitor mom, you know how we are, when they see that you have that badge on and they see that you are official and that you've been through the kids safe kid check, background check, it just eases their minds to leave their children with someone they don't know. So please wear those. It's really important, and it just identifies who we are, and we look like we know what we're doing, even when we may not, and we look official. So please wear them. Volunteers are asked to wipe down all hard surfaces and vacuum the floors. Oh, look at that. We have cleaning procedures before COVID-19. Please remove all trash from your classroom and deposit in the dumpsters outside. Please don't leave them in the kitchen or in the hallway. Put them outside. That would be awesome. Volunteers are asked to treat every student with respect and love when in your care. If there's a behavior problem, you can text the parents or walk them down to the sanctuary or call me. I would be more than happy to deal with it. Volunteers are not permitted in a restroom alone with a child. No teens, no adults should go in the restroom with a child unless it's your own child. Even if it's your best friend's child, do not go in the restroom with them unless you have to because there's an accident, and leave the door open if you have to. Always just stand in the hallway and wait for them to finish. Please do not just send them down the hallway. Again, this is why we need 2 adults or a teen. A teen can walk them down, but they can't go in with them. If there's an emergency, they need to come get you. 2 adults are required in every classroom. A teacher should never be left alone with her class. Unless the other adult has to go downstairs for an emergency, please don't ever be alone. It's for your safety. We just don't want any issues to happen, and this just protects everyone. Approved teens ages 13 and up. This is super important. I have so many 11 and 12-year-olds who are amazing, but they're not approved. They have to be 13 years old unless they're working with mom or grandma. I have a few kiddos whose grandparents work in those nurseries or are serving in other capacities. If they're in the room, I'm totally fine with that. If mom is in the room, I'm totally fine with that. Note for teenagers, they cannot pick up a child and walk around a classroom ever. And they are also not allowed in the nurseries. They can be with 2s, 3s, and 4s, but they cannot be with the toddlers and infants. Again, for liability purposes. They may assist in a classroom, but should never be left alone with children as they are not considered as adults. So this binder right here. In here, we have all of our approved volunteers along with an email and a phone number. You can text them if you have an emergency, if you need somebody to cover for you. These are the people you asked to cover for you. It is very helpful if you can't show up for your turn. Find someone who can do that. If you're teaching children's church, we have a list in our Kids Zone email that goes out. You can just go through that email and through that group and find somebody or let me know. Also in the very back, Victory Baptist Church Teaching Policies and Procedures. This is a very long book. It's really important that you read it. If you'd like a copy, I can email it to you or you can pick one up or just come and take a look at it in the classroom. It is the same exact book that I wrote for Mother's Day Out 12 years ago, and I just tweaked it for children's ministry because, again, we follow the same guidelines. I do that for a reason. It's consistent all the way across the board. It's easy to set the standard, but please read through it. Take a look if there's something of a question. I have information about behavior in there, have information about fevers and all of that. By the way, when we come back, we're going to be checking temperature with a point and shoot thermometer. That is 100.4. That's what we already had 100 degrees in our system. So we're following all the same protocol. If they have a runny nose and a cough, they probably need to stay home. If they have 2 of the symptoms, if they have a fever, it's an absolute stay home. Instead of 48 hours, it's now 72 hours. There are several different things that we're going to kind of be looking at, but this gives you a general idea. It's hanging up in your classroom. Just take a look at it. I just wanted to review these things so that we're all on the same page when we come back and we're not kind of behind the curve trying to figure it out. I want you to know before you step into the classroom. So take some time, take a look at it. I can email it if you'd like, but these are pretty simple procedures. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I can't wait to get back to church and get to work. If you have any questions or you want to serve somewhere or you have something in particular you want to do, just let me know, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.